What's up, everyone? I'm Wade Heath, former Disney senior leader and the author of the book Standalone: The Walt Disney Way. This is Disney News Now from the Kingdom Report. It's Thursday, January 22nd. We have a massive update for you here today for West Coasters in particular, especially if you're a planner, as Disneyland Resort is expanding its booking window. In addition to that, new reports on why Villains Land is the most original project in decades, and the official dates for the 2026 Flower and Garden Festival. Plus, we're looking at the maintenance logs for Tiana's Bayou adventure as Disney works to sort of stabilize their newest e-ticket attraction at Magic Kingdom. In addition to that, we are just 9 days away from the return of Kingdom Report Live, our live broadcast in which Tyler Crouch, Katrina Manzoni, Garrett Hassel, and myself get together to talk about the biggest Disney news stories and have a little bit of magical fun too. Join us Saturday at a brand new time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, January 31st. Now, let's get into the news. Kicking things off with our lead story, Disneyland just made a quiet but sort of seismic shift to its booking policy. As of this morning, the ticket booking window has been extended from 180 days to 240 days in advance. This gives guests an extra 60 days to lock in their travel, effectively allowing families to plan through mid-September 2026. This move aligns with Disneyland's planning horizon more closely with, Walt Disney World's, and is clearly designed to capture those planning those last-minute 70th anniversary trips well before the summer rush. From a leadership perspective, this really seems to be about stabilizing demand more than anything. By pushing the booking window out to 8 months, Disney is incentivizing those guests to commit really early. This is a data mining gold mine, I think, and it tells Disney exactly what the crowd pressure looks like for the 70th anniversary and kind of those final months of the celebration, long before the first guest even walks through the gate. To me, this feels like one of those situations where I'm kind of surprised it took this long to have a booking window this wide, and, to be more like Disney World in this capacity, where Disney planners and the people behind the scenes can have more of an opportunity to prepare better. Again, just kind of a surprise it took this long, but now we have that convenience. So now you are aware your booking window just got a bit larger. Next up here on Disney News Now, story number 2, new reports are surfacing today about the creative DNA of Villains Land coming to Magic Kingdom Park. Internal sources are describing this as the most original land in over 25 years. And while we know it will feature icons like Maleficent and Jafar, Imagineering is reportedly moving away from movie set design. Instead of walking into a specific scene from a film, guests will enter a completely original environment where the villains are in control. This is a return to form for Imagineering in my eyes. I'm thrilled to see that they are finally engaging a project from a more original source. This is something that, unfortunately, in an IP-heavy world that Disney lives in, they don't do too much of anymore. You might recall the Imagineering of yesteryear is not the Imagineering that we see in the decades since. And this really feels like a return to form that is long overdue. In my book, Standalone: The Walt Disney Way, I talk about how the best Disney magic doesn't just copy a movie, it really creates a world you can only experience in person. It takes massive leadership, lots of courage, certainly, to be able to pitch an original concept in an era of sequels. Like I said, a very IP-heavy organization at this point, but that's how you build a new legacy. And it sounds to me like the sort of mission here with Villains Land is to build a new legacy. Imagineering, show up and show out. Let us see what you can do. I am thrilled to know that this is going to be the most original land in decades. That's pretty darn cool. And I think I speak for everybody when I say, can you get to work? Let's start seeing some results, please. Story number 3 on Disney News Now. Disney officially confirmed the dates of the 2026 EPCOT International Flower and Garden Festival. The bloom begins on March 4th and runs through June 1st of this year. And this year's festival will feature over 60 topiaries. The Garden Rocks concert series lineup was also dropped this morning, featuring Simple Plan, Billy Ocean, and the music of ABBA. Dining packages officially go on sale February the 5th, so keep that date in mind. And, this sort of seasonal celebration of flower and gardens is like my favorite time of the year at EPCOT because it's not too blazing hot yet, and it's a just gorgeous time to visit a place like Walt Disney World. Flower and Garden is the sort of operational crown jewel in my eyes of the spring. And as a leader, you aren't just managing flowers at a place like Epcot. You're managing a massive logistics operation that spans more than 90 days. So the horticulture teams that start prepping these topiaries a year in advance are some of the most talented individuals in the industry. And I just want to say kudos to them for the magic that they create each and every year with the Flower and Garden Festival. Are you heading out to the Flower and Garden Festival this year? Be interested to hear from you. Is this one of your favorite Epcot celebrations, or are you more of a food and wine type person? Maybe you are a Festival of Holidays type individual, or are you Festival of the Arts? Let me know in the comments. Next up here on Disney News Now, another story out of Walt Disney World. Internal maintenance audits at the Magic Kingdom are suggesting that Tiana's Bayou adventure is undergoing a sensory calibration audit this week during overnight hours. Following intermittent downtimes and lots of issues that seem to have persisted since late last year, logs indicate that Lift Hill 2 sensors, the ones that trigger the drop sequence, are the primary focus. Disney is aiming for a 98% uptime rating before the heavy spring crowds arrive in March. When a major e-ticket attraction struggles with reliability, it puts an enormous strain on the entire park's sort of load balance, as we call it. In Standalone, The Walt Disney Way, I write about the integrity of the identity. And if the ride doesn't run, the story doesn't land, right? So the integrity of the identity is jeopardized in that regard. I have to say, this attraction, and I've said this this week already, but it's worth reiterating, this attraction has just been plagued by problem after problem since its debut. We reported earlier this week on this image that you're seeing right here, and that is Tiana lost her wig. She lost her hair, and as guests were rolling on through this attraction, they witnessed an open skull Tiana. This is horrifying to see that they continue to be plagued by these issues, not just the drop sequence, but other show elements that might be completely incapacitated during long ride days. And, this goes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier this week, and that is sometimes Imagineering creates attractions that are so beyond the scope, right? They are so beyond the scope of like a traditional ride, and they pump it with so much innovation that it's like its own worst enemy, right? It's too technologically advanced, and one thing won't speak to another, or maybe it's sensory-wise, it's far too sensitive, and so it will shut itself down. I know another attraction like that has a really big problem with sort of sensory overload and problems that shut it down pretty consistently. That's Indiana Jones Adventure at Disneyland. That ride's always shut down. If you happen to walk through Disneyland on any given day, you're probably going to see Indiana Jones not operating and all those cast members standing outside because that ride is just like too smart for itself. You drop a park map off of a ride vehicle, and it's like, oh, that's a person, shut the ride down, and the whole ride just completely collapses in on itself, and it has to be reset, and it's such a big attraction that it takes forever. And I think you got kind of a similar situation here with the former Splash Mountain and Tiana's Bayou Adventure here at Magic Kingdom. So hopefully they can get these things worked out. I know that when you go to a place like Magic Kingdom, the wait times are already long, so to be impacted by an attraction that has little reliability when it comes to uptime, that's unfortunate to say the least. But wishing the Imagineers, the maintenance team, the folks that put this together very well in getting it up and running and hopefully operating at a much higher capacity. And now it's time to clear the desk of some rapid-fire updates for you. We're going to start here at Walt Disney World. Typhoon Lagoon It's closed today, January 22nd, due to low temperatures. This happens, right? When it is cold out, and it's a rarity, I know, in Central Florida, but they've been going through a cold snap recently. They just don't open the water parks. It doesn't make sense because no one's going to come. So January 22nd, the Typhoon Lagoon Water Park is closed. It is expected to return to full operation tomorrow. Hopefully we're going to see some more milder temps set in. Back out on the West Coast, Disneyland Handcrafted. Have you heard about this? The new Leslie Iwerks documentary? Well, Disneyland Handcrafted officially debuts today on Disney Plus and YouTube. I've heard a lot about this, and certainly it's a walk down memory lane and hopefully an opportunity to tell some stories that haven't already been heard when it comes to the formation, creation, ideation of the happiest place on earth. I love these look back documentaries. Leslie's original documentary work that we saw here a couple years ago was pretty impressive, and hopefully we will see yet another installment of that impressive criteria. So get yourself to YouTube and Disney Plus to check out Disneyland Handcrafted. And finally, grab your sweetie. It is Sweethearts Night kickoff. Today, the first sold-out Disneyland After Dark event. Well, it is happening, Sweethearts Night. It is the first of the season, and it takes place tonight. Look at Mickey, look at Minnie. Wouldn't it be nice to have what they have? Oh, they're just so beautiful together. Absolutely. I know a lot of people love these Disneyland After Dark events. I certainly do. They are a wonderful way to escape the mega crowds, and hell of a photo opportunity if you ever go to them, because they set up so many different props, so many different characters are in attire that you'll never see the rest of the year. It's a really sort of engaging night where cast members are at ease, characters are just having so much more fun, and you know, the theming overall is like really over the top. So Sweethearts Night, have a great time, and wishing you all well for Sweetheart Night #1. Let's talk a little backstage leadership at this point. The situation at Magic Kingdom with Tiana's Bayou adventure is a little concerning because this makes a tremendous impact across the entire property when a major e-ticket attraction goes down for any prolonged period of time or consistently has issues. And certainly the buzz in the cast hubs at Magic Kingdom this morning is all about the Tiana's reliability logs. Cast members, they are feeling the pressure of the multiple experience passes flooding other major attractions. There's a real hope among the frontline teams that these overnight audits will finally stop the daily e-stops that have become a standard part of their shift. They want a win as much as the guests do, that's for sure. They are the ones that take the brunt of the frustration, right? Everybody yells at them for some reason, like they had control over this, when in reality, they're just trying to operate at a peak level because that's what's demanded of them by Disney. This ties directly into our backstage leadership lesson for today. When you change a major policy like a booking window or struggle with a ride reopening, you really create ripples through every department. Again, in Standalone the Walt Disney Way, I have a lesson that really focuses on clarity. Leaders have to be clear about why the change is happening. And backstage, we knew that if the cast didn't understand the why, they couldn't sell the how to our guests, right? That's certainly something that connects into something else. And leadership is about giving your team the clarity they need to deliver the magic with just unbreakable confidence, even when the sensors are finicky or the crowds are surging. So to the frontline cast members that continue to put up with sort of this nonsense of attraction downtime, and again, I reference back to the Indiana Jones Adventure at Disneyland, that's been open for decades, and still they've never been able to fix it. They've never been able to rectify all the situations that bring that sucker down as much as it does. So to the frontline cast members that have to put up with this nonsense and deal with this every single day, thank you for your service. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your determination, your grit, your focus on making people happy in a time where, they're not given much of an opportunity to be happy because of that, maintenance problem, because of those issues. I really want to make sure that they understand we're grateful for them. We're grateful for their help, and without those cast members, I don't think we'd be nearly as happy as we are at places like Disneyland and Walt Disney World. You make all the difference to us, and even when you have to deal with the downtimes and the messy situations, you have the best smiles in order to, make that a gentle landing for each of us. So keep up the great work, and hopefully they will rectify the situation at Tiana's, and you'll have far less downtime to deal with. And finally, this day in Disney history, January 22nd, 2006 to be exact, it was a star-studded day at Disney California Adventure for the premiere of Monsters, Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue. I remember the energy at Disney California Adventure during this era. It was a completely different atmosphere. Long before Cars Land, long before the revival that we saw so many years later, it was a patch job, this attraction, to try and bring more family-friendly rides into a theme park that desperately needed them. This attraction was a significant pivot for the park overall, and it replaced, if you recall it, Superstar Limo, and signaled a major shift in how we integrated Pixar into the California Adventure story. In fact, many people believe that it should be more of a Pixar land now in terms of name and scope, because it has so much Pixar IP in it. It wasn't just a dark ride, it was a promise that we were committed to elevating the quality of the park. I think it's one damn charming ride, and today it remains a family favorite, proving that when you lead with better storytelling, the results are pretty timeless. Now, all that to say, we're about to lose it, right? We're going to lose, unfortunately, Mike and Sully to the rescue as this ride sunsets for the sake of Avatar Land coming to Disney California Adventure. Lots of construction that will soon be underway for that, and this ride will be one of the first to go. So we are literally counting down the days right now of this attraction. So I think it's only poetic that we celebrate, this history check for an attraction that brought us so much joy over the years. So thank you for replacing that massive nightmare that was Superstar Limo. We're all more grateful for it and had a lot more fun at Disney California Adventure because of these monsters. And that's the news for Thursday, January 22nd, and Disney News Now. Be sure to pick up my book, Standalone, The Walt Disney Way, at Amazon or at standalonebook.com. I'm Wade Heath, reminding you that we are just a few days out from a brand new era of Kingdom Report Live. Tyler Crouch, Katrina Manzoni, Garrett Hassel, and myself coming back together to bring you the latest Disney news analysis and having a whole lot of fun while we do it completely live with you. Join us Saturday, January 31st at a brand new time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We hope to see you there. And I'll see you tomorrow for the big day of openings across the Disneyland Resort, or I should say reopenings are coming back to the Disneyland Resort. You stay magical, ladies and gentlemen. And for Disney News Now, I'm Wade Heath. We'll see you next time.